Hey, baby doll. It is another day. So I thought that today we would start the book of Esther. And there's not very many chapters in Esther, but it's all about a girl. And, well, there's some really good parts in it for boys too. But this is one of my favorite books. And when I teach my 6th graders, we always go over this book because it's super, super interesting. I love it. But did you know, which you didn't because nobody's told you yet, but I'm telling you now, that the book of Esther does not ever say God's name? Kind of interesting to have a book in the Bible that never says the word God. But anyway, I'm going to start with chapter 1 and we'll go from there. So, chapter 1 of the book of Esther starts out and it says, and if you want to laugh at the way I pronounce these names, you are more than welcome to. But if you laugh, then you gotta say them. So just remember that. I'll make you say them one day, and then I'll laugh back at you. Ha ha ha. Okay, so anyway, these events happened in the days of King Xerxes, who reigned over 127 provinces stretching from India to Ethiopia. That's huge. When we have our map up, it's like a huge place. At that time, Xerxes ruled his empire from his royal throne at the fortress of Susa. In the 3rd year of his reign, he gave a banquet for all his nobles and officials. He invited all the military officers of Persia and Media, as well as the princes and nobles of the provinces. The celebration lasted 180 days. Wow, a tremendous display of the opulent wealth of his empire and the pomp and splendor of his majesty. He is very rich. When it was all over, the king gave a banquet for all the people, from the greatest to the least, who were in the fortress of Susa. It lasted for 7 days and was held in the courtyard of the palace garden. The courtyard was beautifully decorated with white cotton curtains and blue hangings, which were fastened with white linen cords and purple ribbons to silver rings embedded in the marble pillars. Can't you just imagine that? Beautiful, flowy, wavy pieces of material. Gold and silver couches. Now, I'm not so sure about that because sitting on a gold couch kind of would hurt my bum. It would not feel good. Gold and silver couches stood on a mosaic pavement of porphyry, marble, mother of pearl, and other costly stones. So I bet that was gorgeous. Drinks were served in gold goblets of many designs, and there was an abundance of royal wine, reflecting the king's generosity. By edict of the king, no limits were placed on the drinking, for the king had instructed all his palace officials to serve each man as much as he wanted. But you'll see here in a minute that was not quite the best idea. And then it starts in verse 9. It says, at the same time, Queen Vashti gave a banquet for the women in the royal palace of King Xerxes. So she's having a banquet for the women. On the 7th day of the feast, when King Xerxes was in high spirits because of the wine, and yes, the Bible says that, he told the 7 eunuchs who attended him, imagine if you had one of these names, Mehuman, Biztha, Harbona, Bigtha, Abagtha, Zethar, and Carcass. I probably butchered all those names, but he ordered his 7 eunuchs, all of those guys, to bring Queen Vashti to him with the royal crown on her head. He wanted the nobles and all the other men to gaze upon her beauty, for she was a very beautiful woman. No thank you. I don't want a bunch of drunk guys staring at me. But anyway, Queen Vashti, when they conveyed the king's order to Queen Vashti, she refused to come. Don't blame her. But you weren't allowed to do that back then. You couldn't tell the king no. It made him furious. And it says he burned with anger. He's so mad. He immediately consulted with his wise advisors who knew all the Persian laws and customs, because he always asked their advice. The names of these guys, here's some more fun names. The names of these men were Karshina, Shether, Admatha, Tarshish, Meres, Marcina, and Memucan. Anyway, the 7 nobles of Persia and Media. They met with the king regularly and held the highest positions in the empire. So these are his smart guys. What must be done to Queen Vashti? The king demanded. What penalty does the law provide for a queen who refuses to obey the king's order, properly sent through the eunuchs? He was not happy. Memucan answered the king and his nobles. Queen Vashti has wronged not only the king, but also every noble and citizen throughout your empire. Women everywhere will begin to despise their husbands when they learn that Queen Vashti has refused to appear before the king. Before this day is out, the wives of all the king's nobles throughout Persia and Media will hear what the queen did, and will start treating their husbands the same way. There will be no end to their contempt and anger. So if it pleases the king, we suggest that you issue a written decree, a law of the Persians and Medes that cannot be revoked. It should order that Queen Vashti be forever banished from the presence of King Xerxes, and that the king should choose another queen more worthy than she. When this decree is published throughout the king's vast empire, husbands everywhere, whatever their rank, will receive proper respect from their wives. Guess what? Verse 21. The king and his nobles thought this made good sense, so he followed Memucan's counsel. He sent letters to all parts of the empire, to each province in its own script and language, proclaiming that every man should be the ruler of his own home and should say whatever he pleases. Interesting. And that's how the very first chapter ends. So we will get to chapter 2 next time. I love you. Have a great rest of your night. Bye, sweetheart.